We're going to fly to some scenic places that look very different from a bird's eye view than they do from the ground. Many of them you can't access by car, so you may never get the chance to see them at all.
You're going to be seeing these sights the same way as we see them from the cockpit of this Mooney airplane, including the bugs on the windshield. So buckle up because it may be a little bit bumpy. Flying into the private airstrip at Goulding's Lodge can be a little nerve-wracking. You have to plan carefully because there's a huge mountain at the south end of the runway. If an animal wanders out onto the runway, it's going to be a little tricky finding enough room to get the plane back up into the air and turning around for a second attempt. The landing is uphill and airplanes take off downhill coming toward you, so you've got to make sure there isn't anybody coming the other direction.
After parking our plane, we chartered a personal tour with Tom Phillips, a Navajo guide who grew up out here and knows this region like the back of his hand. This is the Monument Valley most people have seen on television or in films. Two of the most popular things to do out here are buying Navajo jewelry, like this turquoise bracelet, and getting your picture taken on John Ford's Point. Director John Ford made this scenery popular in many old Western movies. He would sit here on this outcropping and direct scenes of stagecoaches, Indian attacks, and of course, John Wayne. Monument Valley is an area of several hundred square miles of awe-inspiring rock formations, such as this one, called the Three Sisters. Many of these rock formations look strikingly like heads staring up into the sky, like people, or like eyes.
This is the ancestral homeland of the Navajo before they were killed or driven out in the 1800s, so there are still remains of ancient dwellings to be found. And some petroglyphs, ancient drawings of animals on the stone.
There are real animals here too. The Navajo keep horses for a variety of different tasks. And they raise sheep. They spin their own wool yarn by hand and weave it into elaborately patterned blankets, as this woman has been doing for nearly 100 years. So now that we've seen Monument Valley from the ground, it's time to get up in the air and try to get a bird's eye view of this totem pole and all the other incredible sights. I'm not sure I can pronounce the Navajo names for all these rock formations in Monument Valley, but fortunately, Anglos have made up their own names. This one is Saddleback. And the king on his throne. And Stagecoach on the left there. The cylinder-looking one is Castle Rock. There's also a big Indian head. He's looking straight up.
You drive to Monument Valley, there is a rough 17-mile dirt road open to the public for a small per-person fee. Most of the backcountry can only be accessed in the company of a Navajo guide with an off-road vehicle designed to handle the sand, water, and extremely rough conditions. We are flying over some areas today that are not accessible from the ground at all. The Monument Valley Tribal Park sits on the border between Arizona and Utah, entirely within the Navajo Nation, a 27,000 square mile reservation created by treaty between the United States government and the Navajo people. There are some 170,000 Navajo living today. Some of them choose to live in the traditional way here in the valley they call Tsepi Nidziskai. We hope you enjoyed the flight and will come fly with us again.